Quickly before we begin, sorry for taking so long with this. Everyone who saw my Megatron video has been waiting a long time, so thank you for your patience. I'll talk about this at the end of the video, so for now, let's just get into it. While this essay is primarily about Cyclonus and Tailgate's relationship, I'll also be talking a bit about Whirl due to the part he plays in both that relationship and their character arcs. But of course, before all of that, I actually need to explain who everyone is, so here we go. Cyclonus is one of the oldest Transformers and part of the original ARC's crew, as it set out to colonize the universe under the rule of the megalomaniacal Nova Prime millions of years before the main story. A lot happens to him, including being trapped in something called the Dead Universe and allying himself with the Decepticons, but he's overall an example of the noble demon archetype. He's done bad things but abides by his own principles instead of being outright evil. Whirl is of the same generation as the bulk of the cast. He wanted to be a watchmaker but was forced into the armed forces by having his head and hands removed so he couldn't make watches anymore. That left him pretty off-kilter, and while it also makes him incredibly fun to watch, he's firmly in the chaotic good category. It also means he has a pretty messy track record, including being the one who beat up Megatron when he was in police custody and convinced him to start the war in the first place. He's almost proud of his mental state and views his physical condition as an excuse to vent at the world around him, refusing repairs lest he be forced to look inward and face his own personal issues. Tailgate is introduced in Lost Light itself. He was meant to be another crew member of the Ark, the bomb disposal expert to be exact, only to be trapped underground and unearthed during a fight between the other two. Considering all three of them wound up near the Lost Light as it was taking off, the crew of that ship take Tailgate and Whirl on board. Cyclonus hitchhikes without the others knowing. Season 1. Cyclonus is discovered when the ship is damaged and some of its crew fall out. Everyone is obviously against the former enemy being on board, but when Cyclonus says he doesn't want to be an Autobot or Decepticon and just wants a fresh start in life, the captain lets him stay, albeit with a warning that he'll be closely watched. An attempt to make him reconcile with Whirl also goes awry when Cyclonus secretly tells Whirl that he will kill him, which isn't a good start. He doesn't make a good start with Tailgate either. Tailgate latches onto him as the only remaining trace of the life he remembers, and Cyclonus teaches him the history of the Transformers War, but as he saw it, giving Tailgate the impression that the Decepticons were freedom fighters and to be idolized. The Autobots give him their perspective, which is admittedly morally dubious itself, and show him the horrible things they've done, but when he accuses Cyclonus of lying, the latter calls him naive and responds to a punch by beating him up and leaving him whimpering on the floor. So yeah, he rebuffs Tailgate's next attempt to socialize too, but despite being disappointed by him wanting to be an Autobot, secretly attends his ceremony, so we can already see that he doesn't outright hate the little guy. His feud with Whirl returns in a later battle on the planet Temporia, saves Tailgate from a bomb, but Whirl locks him in a room with said bomb to get rid of him, unknowingly trapping the Autobot Rewind inside with him. Cyclonus protects Rewind with his own body, but both are severely injured, with only Tailgate being worried about him. Chrome Dome, Rewind's lover, is upset that he survived at all. Transformers have a ritual for friends who are injured, where we would leave get well soon cards. They pour some of their innermost energon into a vial to leave at their bedside. Cyclonus wakes up in time to see Tailgate pouring one out for him and smashes it, calling him weak before striding off. But on his way out of the medical center, he sees that Rewind is surrounded by vials. Without a word, he turns around and helps Tailgate clean up his mess. By the way, if you notice that Tailgate had to be saved from a bomb despite being a bomb disposal expert, congrats. The topic of his past life comes up during a trip off-ship with a number of other Autobots, which Cyclonus disrupts by pretending to throw a drunken tantrum. When they're alone, Cyclonus explains that he knows Tailgate was lying about who he used to be. Tailgate was a waste disposer instead, someone so irrelevant the original Ark didn't even realize he was missing when it took off. Taking pity on the bot who just wanted people to care about him, Cyclonus teaches him an old Cybertronian song for the two to sing together. The big shippers moment comes in the season 1 finale, where Tailgate is revealed to be dying from cybercrosis, the Cybertronian equivalent of old age. Cyclonus seems uncaring when he hears the news, but once he's alone, reacts by carving gashes into his own face. When the ship finds the mythical Lunar 1, he agrees to help scout it out on the condition that Tailgate be brought along. Despite telling Tailgate never to hope for anything, this is exactly what he was going to do, banking on the legends of Lunar 1 having mountains of lost knowledge, including cures to all known diseases. While a cure is found after their adventure there, Tailgate's condition deteriorates too much during the events for it to be effective anymore. On his deathbed, he reveals he was only 2 weeks old when the Ark took off, meaning he is currently a year old at best mentally despite his illness. He wants to be put out of his misery and Cyclonus stabs him through the heart. But this actually supercharges him enough for the cure to take effect, as the sword he used to do the deed was one that could channel Cyclonus' own energy into the target. The only reason Cyclonus knew to do this was that during the big battle he had finally decided to bury the hatchet with Whirl, letting him live long enough to share this information with him, and thus tying him back into his relationship with Tailgate. For his actions in helping everyone, the leaders of Lost Light also formally welcome Cyclonus on board. It's also for Tailgate's sake that he wears a horn to replace the broken one earlier in the series, one made by eye Tailgate at that. This is in defiance of the culture he grew up in, which looked down on replacing body parts, and goes to show how much Cyclonus now values the little guy. Season 2. But it's only in this new era of the series, when the pair are sent to the past, that Cyclonus finally apologizes to Tailgate for beating him up early on, so he's still bad at expressing himself. It's also in Season 2 that Getaway gets involved in their lives. It starts simple enough, with Getaway inviting Tailgate to talk to him instead of Cyclonus, then he swoops in to dance with him at a party after Cyclonus temporarily turns him down. Cyclonus talks to Wall about Getaway, and Wall replies that Getaway would be better for Tailgate than the brooding hulk he is, but is surprised when Cyclonus admits Wall was the only one he could trust for an honest answer. I discussed this next part briefly in the Megatron video, but Wall was part of a group trying to get Megatron off the ship by manipulating Tailgate, and this gives him cold feet, for which his memories are wiped, but not before he's able to give Cyclonus a clue via the clocks in his room. Cyclonus arrives in time to save Tailgate from Megatron, but in doing so draws the ire of the Lost Light security team. He tells Tailgate he's been tricked, and Tailgate in turn realizes that Cyclonus is the one who's always been looking out for him, even accidentally performing the 4 acts that represent a deep love in their society. They try to escape via shuttle, but when the exit is blocked off, he simply shields Tailgate with a "goodbye little one" as the team shreds a third of his bulk off with sustained gunfire. Luckily he escapes death when Tailgate releases a strange energy that knocks everyone unconscious in his grief. Despite all of this, Cyclonus refuses to make their relationship official, claiming he's too miserable for Tailgate, which is pretty much exactly how Wall described him, but that he'd do everything in his power to defend him. Season 3. Tailgate's power surge was explained as a sign that he was an artificial outlier, a rare breed of Cybertronian with exceptional strength. However, the artificial part brought with it side effects making him unstable. He needed more rest, but would flail about while unconscious and damage himself. Cyclonus would spend his nights restraining him but would wind up damaged instead. He doesn't tell Tailgate this though, meaning he was attacked by some Decepticons in the area and starts fights with them instead, leading to even more trouble that Cyclonus can't bring himself to talk Tailgate out of. Things reach a tipping point when Cyclonus loses an entire arm and part of his face to Tailgate's spasms, which draws Wall's attention. He sees through Cyclonus' lies, realizes what's going on, and despite being asked to keep it a secret, tells Tailgate. As a result, Tailgate chooses to stay behind when the rest of the crew move on, so he can rid himself of his powers. Cyclonus acts coolly at first, then goes back to him before being chased away a second time. He sits in the shuttle quietly as it takes off, then starts carving his face before Wall stops him and gives him company as he leaves his relationship behind. But things get even worse when news from the planet they'd left informs the crew that Tailgate's procedure backfired and that he has died. Cyclonus winds up suicidal and almost kills someone before Wall again gives him solace. When their ship reaches Mederi, a planet that creates illusions based on its inhabitants' wants, Cyclonus' grief is so strong that it overrides everyone else's and creates an image of the afterlife complete with all the crew's loved ones, including Tailgate. However, Mederi is essentially a euthanasia clinic that automatically kills Transformers once they're at peace. Still thinking it's the afterlife, Cyclonus and Tailgate reconnect and promise to never be apart. As they wait to ascend, Wall, having been part of the crew that had been investigating the planet, tells them the truth. As illusion fades around them, Cyclonus finally confesses his feelings, but Tailgate survives. For reasons that are explained in the next arc, this is the real deal, teleported from the chamber he was in before, and now he finally knows how Cyclonus feels about him. Cyclonus continues to protect Tailgate in the finale of Lost Light, shooting down a plan that would kill him and defending him as he opens a new matrix of leadership to light their darkest hour. And once all the fighting is over and their quest comes to an end, Cyclonus thanks Rodimus for giving him a second chance at life and leaves with Tailgate. The two go on several adventures of their own before settling in Cyclonus' hometown of Tetrahex. Upon learning that Wall responded to a lack of direction by getting arrested 84 times, the pair invite him to live with them after his current sentence ends, to which he responds by returning Cyclonus' hug from way back and deciding that, finally, he was no longer broken. And that's the end of the biggest odd couple pairing in Transformers so far. Some of you were really looking forward to this video after my Megatron one, and I hope I did them justice. While I always knew Wall was a big part of this relationship, I never really appreciated how big he was until doing my research for this video, and it really makes me appreciate how everything comes together in the end even more, even with the comic being rushed to an ending so Hasbro could reboot the continuity. Thanks again for the patience of everyone who's been waiting for this, and I'm glad anyone who hasn't seen my Megatron video yet didn't have to wait as well. As I mentioned in the thank you video I posted a while back, I didn't expect that essay to take off the way it did. That video is almost at 90,000 views right now, and my usual view count caps out in the double digits. I was really happy, and to be honest, I was also terrified of meeting those expectations, so that made me procrastinate like crazy to make a follow-up, and that's not even getting into how burnt out I was after all the work that went into making it too. Hopefully the effort that's gone into this video is worth it as well, as I really do like making this type of content. As I mentioned in the Megatron one, I would like to do more than just Transformers stuff, but that's scary in its own right since YouTube trains creators to pick a lane and stay in it. My idea for tackling this is instead to make essays about narratives that have fallen by the wayside, much like Autobot Megatron, which is only familiar to Transformers fans, and those among them who also read comics. I have 2 non-Transformers videos planned already that I really hope people enjoy and will give this new series value, and another IDW Transformers essay on the other side for those who survived the journey. If you've seen my last 2 big videos, you're likely someone who enjoys stories that most have never heard of, so I hope you'll be happy to come on this journey. But for now, thanks again for all your support. Like and subscribe if you want more content like this, and as always, have a great day.